Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we have a donation deck and boy howdy is it a spicy one. So, the main thrust of this deck is Ratchet Field Medic. So if you're not familiar with this card, there's a lot to read here. So it's a 3 mana 2/4 lifelinker. And whenever you gain life, you can flip it and then return an artifact with mana value equal to or less than the amount of life you gain this turn from your graveyard to battlefield tapped. And then on the other side, it's a 1/4 vehicle that on your turn is still a creature, has lifelink still, and whenever one or more non-token artifacts you control are put into a graveyard from the battlefield, it flips back again. This only triggers once each turn. So the idea is we're going to be using this to rebuy a whole load of artifacts, similar to how Emry works. But we can obviously get back a whole bunch of things. It's not going to cost us mana as long as we're getting our stuff together. So, what, may you ask, are we going to be getting back with this? So, Urza's Baubles, makes sense. We can have this one, draw a card, it'll flip our Ratchet, we can just flip it back quite easily. We can just keep doing this and just drawing extra cards every turn. That seems pretty straightforward. A Lotus Petal, so we can get some more mana. It seems like a nice option to have. Then we start getting into some weird territory that I'm going to have to read a few of these cards myself. So Executioner's Capture is a destroy target non-black creature, so we can hopefully use this and just keep rebuying it. So as long as we're not playing against black creatures, we're going to have our Ratchet, instead of being a medic, it's going to be an Executioner, and just keeps buying back the capture to blow stuff up. We then have Aether Spellbomb, seems like a pretty standard one. It's also going to feed into our Urza Saga package as well. We have a Meekstone. We have 3 Meekstones, so we're going all in on the Meekstones here. If you're unfamiliar with this one, it's an old 1 mana artifact. Creatures with power 3 or greater don't untap during their controller's untap steps. So the idea is that our creatures are going to be small and go underneath this, and then bigger creatures will only get 1 roll of the dice before they end up getting tapped down forever. That's the plan with the Meekstone anyway. We have a Necrogen Spellbomb, so we can use this as repeated discard with our Ratchet and just evaporate our opponent's hand over the course of a few turns. Then we have a Nihil Spellbomb. This is a very good Saga target. If you're in black, it's well worth playing because you get to exile people's graveyard and draw a card, whereas if you're not in black, you have to play the Soul Guide Lantern, which is an either or, whereas this we can do it both. You can have it all. Alright, Pacification Array. This is one that I hadn't seen before. So this is a 1 mana artifact with pay 2, tap target artifact or creature. I assume this is because our creature isn't very strong. We need to tap stuff down so we can attack in combat, and I guess that's what that's there for. We can chew it up with the Urza Saga if necessary. We also have a Pithing Needle, which is a standard Urza Saga package. We do have another artifact that we can get back here. This is Umezawa's Jitte. So this has the important text of removing a counter to gain 2 life, which means that our Ratchet, we can gain a whole bunch of life and convert the Ratchet and get back 2 drops pretty easily. However, we don't really have a way of finding this. So it might prove difficult to get this engine online. We don't have anything like a Stoneforge Mystic to go and shoot this up. We have another artifact here though. We have a Baleful Strix. So this is one that we want to keep playing and letting it die and replaying it and just keep doing that and drawing more cards. So we're going to just have loads of cards is the main idea here. And what this also does is it locks down boards pretty well. It can stop Murktide and things attacking. It's just a great card. So playing good cards to go with our card that I'm not sure how good it is, but we're going to see. But playing good cards to go alongside is always a way of doing it. We can't have all of our pacification arrays and stuff. We do need some good cards to fill in the blanks. We've got a Dovin's Veto here. We've got 2 of them. So these are going to be just for saying no to spells, obviously. It's an interesting choice to have this main deck. I'm curious to see how it plays out. We've got a few other spicy ones here. So we have a Gideon of the Trials. So this does a whole bunch of stuff, right? So we can prevent all damage that target permanent would deal. This means that we can make their blocker not be able to do anything to our Ratchet, so our Ratchet can attack and keep going. Also, this can be a win condition and give us an emblem so that our opponent might struggle to kill us. So combat decks that can't necessarily remove the Gideon are going to struggle. Things like Storm, they're going to have to find bounce spells for this, that sort of thing. Or Oops, all spells will really struggle to deal with this if we can get it into play. Then we have an Emry to go with the Ratchet. This is kind of like our 5th Ratchet in a lot of ways. So it should be pretty reasonable. We have another one that I haven't seen for a long time, Old Man of the Sea. 3 mana 2/3. You may choose not to untap it during your untap step. You can tap it, gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to Old Man of the Sea's power for as long as this guy remains tapped. So this is going to be stealing some stuff, I guess. Quite what this is doing for the deck, I haven't fully worked out. But I guess if our opponent's got a bunch of little things like Baleful Strix and we want to attack with our Ratchet, having ways to take their Baleful Strix away from them so we can attack the Ratchet makes sense. I'm sure there's some other reasons this is going to be really good for us, and we'll have to think about that as it comes up. Then we have these Spell Quellers, not artifacts, not something we can bring back, but it's just a good spell. If we're playing little guys that get under the Meekstone, this is a counter spell and a guy, so it makes sense. We're not running Force of Will's main deck, which is quite an interesting one. We're just trying to have lots of guys that do stuff, is the plan here. And we do have some main deck disruption in the form of Thoughtseize. So we got 2 Thoughtseize, which is an interesting number. But again, I've not played this deck before, so I don't know how these numbers line up. So we're just going to trust the donor and see how it goes. And the last card we need to talk about, Authority of the Consuls. A 1-mana, creatures your opponent control enter the battlefield tapped. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you gain 1 life. So this is kind of to help us flip the Ratchet a bit more, so our opponent can gain life. This can flip it on their turn, sort of thing. Not convinced how useful this is going to be, but it's going to be quite funny against an elf player if we do, because they're not going to be able to tap all their guys for stuff, so that'd be quite fun. And the main thing this combos with, of course, is Meekstone. So if they enter tapped and the Meekstone keeps them locked down, that'll work. But some of the scarier creatures are like things like Dragon's Rage Channeler and Devil, which don't necessarily come in as bigger guys, so they can flip them, and then I guess we still lock them under the Meekstone then anyway when they flip. I don't know. It's an interesting combo to basically say no to creatures. I'm curious to see how it pans out. Mana base wise, we've got fetch land mana base here. We've got a few fetch lands. Marsh Flats, Flooded Strands. We've got ourselves 1 Karakas, 1 Seat of the Synod. This is just an artifact, so it's going to have some useful text with the fact that we're running things like Mox Opal. Maybe we could do with more of these, I'm not sure. But this is an artifact that we can... Can we get this back with Ratchet? Return tag artifact card with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life. Yeah, so we can return the Seat of the Synod as well. We've got some dual lands. The only basics we're running is 1 island and 1 plain, so we don't have a basic swamp. Gonna have to take a good look at this mana base and make sure I fetch the right... Oh no, we do have a swamp actually. Apologies. So we have 1 of each basic, so that's good. 2 Tundras, 2 Scrublands, 1 sea. Alright, I have to keep that in mind when I'm doing some fetching. And obviously we have the Urza Sagas. So, because we don't have Force of Wills in the main, we've got them in the sideboard here. 4 Force of Will, 4 Force of Negation. So, we are kind of aiming to play against creature decks that we can shut down with our Meekstone and things. And we're going to use these Force of Wills and Force of Negations when that's not very good, is the plan. For our opponent's graveyard deck, we've got these 4 ley lines, and then we just got 3 Mites for the Worldly Lights as a flexible answer to stuff. So hopefully we should be alright against creatures, because we've got Authority of the Consuls and Meekstone. So that's kind of what we're aiming to do, is to shut their guys down that way. And maybe the Executioner's Capsules can do some work there too. But then when we've got non-creature permanents that we need to deal with, we can bring in the Mites for the Worldly Light. So I imagine this package of 11 cards is going to come in relatively often, depending on what we're facing in the league, obviously. Alright, this is very much a wild one. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays. There's going to be loads of lines that I haven't even thought of yet with this deck, I suspect, because we've got loads of like small numbers of cards that interact in really interesting ways. So, always fascinated to find donation decks like this. Alright, before we jump into the league, if you would like a donation deck yourself, you can get in touch with me on my Discord in the link below, or you can find me on Twitter at Crucible of Words, and you can come and get a donation deck. I charge very reasonable fees for them, so why not? Also, like, comment, subscribe, become a member of the channel. All these things you can do if you're interested. But I think we all just want to see how this deck plays, right? So, Transformers, roll out. So, let's have another reread of this. So we can play it for 2 mana, and then we can flip it and start getting stuff back. So we can kind of set up our engine on turn 2 here. So we don't want to crack our bauble straight away. Now, is just having a turn 2 Ratchet going to be good enough here? I don't honestly know. But I think we've got to try it out. So let's keep this. It's not as if our deck is particularly heavy in disruption. We've got like 2 Thoughtseize in the main, a couple of Dovin's Vetoes, and then our other disruption is Spell Quellers. So it's not as if we can mulligan to have like a force to sit back on. If our opponent's doing the stuff that goes in underneath us, we just have to let that happen and then try and win from the sideboard, I think. A Ponder, okay. Tropical Iron, this could be anywhere from like green, blue, show and tell type stuff, or it could be, ooh, that's an interesting one. Or it could be something along the lines of, do we play out one of these baubles? Could be a lure in or something on the other side as well. Do you want a bauble? I think we'll throw out 2 baubles, but we won't crack them because we want to use it with our Ratchet. I believe this card was bugged on Magic Online for a while, which is why people weren't running it. But now this deck should, in theory, operate correctly, so we'll see. A Mox Opal, that's an interesting one. That gives me another mana source to work with. How useful is that other mana source going to be? I don't know. Tundra, I think we'll go and get the... are we more white heavy or are we more blue heavy? I think we're more white heavy, so we'll get a basic plains here. Or we could get the other Tundra. We'll get the other Tundra. And more than meets the eye. So you can play around a daze here. Our opponent's probably reading this, which is why I've taken the time, which is fair enough. It's got a lot of text on it. It's got 2 wordy cards worth of text on it. I will admit I have not read all of the Transformers cards that have been printed. Force of Will. Pitching Brainstorm. Okay. So we've got another one to follow up with. So they're clearly a little bit worried about Ratchet, which is nice to know. And the second Ratchet we can hold up a Dovin's Veto for with at the same time as well. Just to ponder. This is fine. We don't want them to commit anything too scary here. Now we do have to deal with this Tarmogoyf, which is getting a little bit on the large side. We could fire off this bauble, but we already have our plan for next turn anyway. We're just going to have to take this chunk of 5 and hopefully draw something useful. Not the most useful. Alright, so we're going to go for white. More than meets the eye. Let's have a Rescue Racer. Another Force of Will. This time we can actually capture this. So we can go blue and white. Can we get our Rescue Racer in? A daze! Jeez. Alright, we're on the old... yeah, our opponent had Force of Will, daze, as well as a threat there. So we cannot pay for the daze. And I think at this point we need to just sacrifice our baubles. I thought Dovin's Veto would be enough to help force it through since we'd already got hit by a force, but our opponent's hand was just a lot of things. And we don't have a lot of time to deal with this. But if we can find an Executioner's Capsule, we can deal with this Tarmogoyf that way. Urza Saga can't get Executioner's Capsule because it can only find things that cost 0 or 1 colourless. So we're looking for Executioner's Capsule or Meekstone. So that's, what, 5 hits? That kind of keeps us in the game. I'm trying to think if we've got anything else. Gideon can turtle up around this. So we've got options here. They did not shuffle off their Ponder though, so I'm not particularly happy. Our Mox Opal is off now as well. I think we did need the cards there. Pithing Needle. Let's play this one out. We'll put this on Wasteland just in case that's something our opponent has. Because we don't want to get Urza Saga wasted because this is going to give us some chump blockers for this Tarmogoyf. Or we can try and double up. So we can take... no, we have to take this hit and then make a thing, don't we? Because we're going to be at 4 after this attack. Yikes. Our opponent is winning this game off the back of Tarmogoyf quite handily right now. Another one? Please don't be another one. That's the same but worse for us. Okay, we need Executioner's Capsule here. Or Meekstone. A land. We cannot win this game. Alright. So our opponent is a creature deck. We don't really have anything for creature decks because we're supposed to try and beat them with our stuff we have here. So Marsh Flats Light is not going to be hitting their little guys. Like we could kill a Tarmogoyf with it, but I don't think that's realistic. We only saw green, so they could have the 3 mana spell I always forget the name of that blows up all the artifacts. That could be a thing they have that might be bad for us. I don't really want to play ley lines here. I think we're just going to resubmit, but try and keep a better hand, especially since we know what the matchup is now. Is there anything here that does look bad? No, all this seems fine. Old Man of the Sea, what are you doing here? Gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to... I think Old Man of the Sea is going to go, though. And maybe we'll have 1 March of the Worldly Light. Is that going to be better than a single Force of Will? The reason I like March of the Worldly Light is because if you draw it afterwards, it's better, whereas Force of Will requires you to have it when they cast the thing. So we're going to try it like this. We have Ratchet, but we don't have anything to go with Ratchet. We have Authority of the Consuls, which doesn't really... I think we can do better here. What does this hand do? This is an ugly one, isn't it? I think we keep and throw back the Thoughtseize. Not... Okay, so they have a Lane on the Void. So this is going to blank our Ratchet quite handily. Now, we don't actually have a draw that involves Ratchet right now. So, going to be tough. A Wasteland. Alright, our game is probably over here. We can gain some life, though. If we can draw a Meekstone, we can get the Meekstone off of the Urza Saga in a few turns. And hopefully lock our opponent's creatures down that way. But if they don't have their Tarmogoyf might be able to come in underneath this, because at the moment it's only a 1-2. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. Sure. Okay. So we have a Pacification Array. Not a phrase I thought I'd be saying, but we do. And we can use this to save ourselves a tiny bit of damage here. But then where are we going is the question. That Wasteland on our coloured source is pretty brutal. A Delver of Secrets. Sure, this can come in untapped. Come in tapped, but then we're going to have it be tapped. It's going to untap in their upkeep. Yeah, in their untapped step, because we're not going to have... It's not going to have 3 powers. Even if we find the Meekstone off of this, it's not going to stop it. However, if they can transform this Channeler, so we got 1, 2, 3. They need one more thing to transform the Channeler. Let's tap this down and save ourselves a bit of hassle. Oh, 1 point of damage. We're winning the life race, at least. Okay. We found the land. Let's put these on the stack. We will tap this for mana. So we could Nihil Spellbomb here and just clear these out. Or we could get a Mox Opal, play a land, make a construct. That turns on our Mox Opal there. And then next turn we get a Meekstone. I think that's probably okay. Like, we're pretty much dead to Meltdown, and there's nothing we can do about that. So, alright. Let's make a construct now. This will make our opponent think that we have something immediately to do with our Mox Opal. Well, no, it doesn't actually, because we have to use the mana that was floating. What am I talking about? So we're kind of hoping that these creatures get big enough this turn that we get to Meekstone them down. Oh, that's a brutal Wasteland. That must have come off the top. So they're looking to put a creature into the bin here to flip their Channeler. They left it on top. Not great for us. Yeah, we're getting clowned on pretty hard here. I think Delver is still the best deck in Legacy. I just don't think people have necessarily worked out the perfect build. Alright, a Spell Queller that we can't do much with. If our opponent has an instant and can put a creature into the graveyard, we're going to be in a bit of trouble here. Okay, it's just going to take that, are they? I have to imagine that they're flipping their Dragon's Rage Channel this turn. And their Delver. Because they left the card on top. So they're definitely... I'm surprised they didn't... I guess they knew the top card, right? Oh no, they shuffled their library off the pond, didn't they, actually? Okay. They could have tried to get a trade here, if that's the thing they're in the market for, but I guess they feel very far ahead right now, so they can just take the 3 and then worry about it later. So, Meltdown will cost us the game. Okay, this is flipping to Pirate Blast. That's not so bad. We have an uncounterable counterspell. This is going to flip the Channeler. Oh wait, the Channeler's already flipped now, right? Yes, because they found the instant. Sure. I think we maybe try and save our construct if they bolt it or something. Or if they cast a Meltdown, we can Dovin's Veto it. But we're not winning this game right now. We need something. Do I tap one of these guys down to save us the life? Or do I hold up to play around Meltdown? I think we have to hold up to play around Meltdown. Because we can't win if we get Meltdowned. If they play a creature second main phase, we can tap that down and secure ourselves 3 damage and maybe draw a Meekstone. Meekstone would be pretty good on this board if it sticks. Let's have a look. This feels like a Meltdown or a Murktide. It's the Murktide. We cannot counterspell that with a Dovin's Veto, unfortunately, because it only hits non-creatures. But it comes in, we gain life. Meekstone, please. A Thoughtseize. That definitely doesn't do it. The Murktide is only a 4/4. So if we take... Yeah, we have to stop the Murktide this turn, which means we are very open to a Meltdown hitting it. Alright, so we take 6 this turn. We need to find a Meekstone. Come on. Emry, Lurker of the Loch. If we play Emry, we don't get to tap this down. We take 10, 11, 12, 13. So we have to hold up the Pacification Array. If they kill our construct, we lose our ability to tap them down. we can't afford to counterspell a meltdown now. We have to just tap the Murktide. Feels like a meltdown. So we have to tap this down, otherwise we just lose this turn. We will lose almost all of our permanents though. Alright, so they'll attack us for 6, and then hopefully we'll draw a Meekstone, and we might still be in the game for a little bit longer, but we'll see. An Urza Saga. We cannot do anything here, we are done. Alright, it felt like there was quite a disparity between what our decks were doing in that particular game. They had really efficient threats that kind of did stuff on their own. They had really powerful answers. We did get wastelanded off of our colour source, which definitely hampered us, but we probably weren't going to be casting any of our spells anyway because the double pips on them, so it's going to take a while for that to happen. And, you know, what we're playing these cards, which aren't very efficient by legacy standards, the old Spell Quellers, and like Dovin's Veto, something like Spell Pierce. It's better. Obviously, Dovin's Veto says can't be countered, which is definitely relevant for things like Meltdown. But alas, we could not do that. All right, let's go on to round 2. Okay, what does this hand do? We have an Urza Saga game we can play, and we can do some Ratchet things. It's going to be hard to wasteland us into the dirt, so I think we'll keep this one. Not an impressive hand, but it does stuff. I think we lead out on a basic island and play an Aether Spellbomb. This tells our opponent that we have Urza Saga in our deck. They probably... The fact that we got a basic there is interesting. Maybe we're supposed to bait them to try and wasteland our land. Oh no, is this another Delver matchup? Could be Sneak and Show. So we can turn the Ratchet into a bounce engine or a card advantage engine. They chose not to shuffle. Not a fan of that. A Meekstone. That's an interesting one. I don't think we're supposed to play around... No, I think... We're supposed to play around days, or we're just supposed to play an Urza Saga game. I think we're going to play out this Urza Saga and just start playing a Saga game. If they're show and tell, we can put in a Karakas and maybe bounce what they're playing. Okay, our opponent is representing 4 colours right now. What are we going to see here? Staff of the Storyteller. So it's like a 4-colour Staff of the Storyteller deck, I guess. Interesting. I think we are better off making Urza Saga tokens here. So we're just going to play a basic and pass. We can do some Ratchet stuff when we need to, but there's no reason for us to waste our time playing into counter spells, and we can just hold up this Urza Saga and do something that's pretty decent on the board. And then we can follow up next turn with another Urza Saga and just kind of go wide. I don't think we have a Shadow Spear to find though, so we can't go that way. I wonder what our opponent is running. This token's going to peck at us for 1. And then we're going to make ourselves a lad. Our opponent is holding up what could very easily be dressed down. So not a huge fan of getting hit by, but I don't think we can really do much about this. We're getting dressed down. No, they're just drawing a card. Interesting. So we can get Pithing Needle and name Staff of Storyteller. A Terminus. That's a little bit on the rude side, isn't it? Sure. So we're going to lose our guys. We're going to get Pithing Needle and put on Staff of Storyteller though. And then rather than Thoughtseizing here, I think we're just going to get the Urza Saga up and running, because we can Thoughtseize and Saga next turn. Whereas if we take a turn off to Thoughtseize now, we're not going to be able to develop our Saga plan for a little while. It's going to be a Minsk and Boo. It is a Minsk and Boo. Okay. Now we have that checked with a Karakas. We're now going to have to play instead of Thoughtseizing, but that's fine. I say fine. It's not great, but it's fine. The nice combo. They can make a guy and let it die immediately to put a counter on Staff of the Storyteller. That's pretty good tech. It's like Hot Bant, the next generation. So, let that tick up. Play Karakas. And I think we just pass here. So they should be making a token here. Just charge up their staff. Yep. And then they let the 1/1 die and charge up the staff. Sure. So we've got the Boo checked with a Karakas here. Prismatic Ending. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so we can't do anything about this, which is a shame. And it's exiled, so we can't get it back with Ratchet. Sure, they're just putting us on no target. I suspect this Urza Saga token we make is not going to be able to connect. But we're going to make it still. Let's go. Make another token. We're getting dressed down. Yep. It's pretty bad for us. Pretty bad. What are we going to get with this? Opponent's got so many cards in hand. Do we think our opponent's playing Uro in their deck? I don't think so. Looking at the mana they've got now, like the green feels like something you're going to be fetching. If that's the thing you've got early on. We could take a redraw, or we could take a mana here so we can play Ratchet and Thoughtseize. Sure, we'll take the Lotus Petal. And we'll play this out. Play this out. We will Thoughtseize our opponent and see what they're working with over there. Many things, I suspect, is what they're working with. Staff of Storyteller, Dress Down. I guess we take the Force of Will just so we can force through our guy. This probably wants to be an Underground Sea or a Scrubland. Probably Underground Sea. Then we'll cast More Than Meets the Eye. White. And 1. Speed Racer. Oh wait, it can be Force of Negation, right? Because it's only a vehicle on the stack. Wait, that was potentially a misplay from us then. I could have Force of Negation that, right? If it just says vehicle on it. So they don't have a Wasteland yet, but they clearly have them in their deck. This does feel like the next iteration of Hot Bant, which I imagine Bosch and Roll's probably going to play on their channel at some point soon. So we have a Minskambu. They're drawing a card. They're pondering. Okay. Ratchet immune to sorcery speed creature removal at least, which is nice. Though it can get prismatic ending pretty easily. We do have the authority of the Consuls and Meekstone combo, but this is the matchup where that is very bad. A bit awkward. I think we're bordering counter spells in instead of those for the next game. They did not shuffle with their ponder. Okay, so they wanted one of the cards at least, and then they can shuffle away. Yeah, so they wanted one of the cards from that ponder. Alright. If our opponent makes a creature, we bounce the burn response, because that means they could sacrifice it and still get some value potentially. 3 mana of Naya colours. This looks like a prismatic ending on our Ratchet. This is only an artifact, so we can't bounce it. So I guess we lose our one thing we had going on. Sure. Pretty bad for us. They find a Wasteland, this game is over. Gideon of the Trials, you say? We don't... Well, we do have another artifact, don't we? We have a Meekstone. I don't think they're going to counter this. I don't think it's relevant. What they're probably going to counter, though, is Gideon of the Trials. So if we go white, 1, 1. We know they have Force of Negation. Yep, there it is, pitching the dress down. Sure, we have to work through it at some point. Yep, they've got Howling Mine here. A one-sided Howling Mine with Minskambu and Staff, which is pretty gross. Alright, this looks like an Uro. So we do have their win conditions checked with Karakas, but they can make 2 of them. Now we can bounce one of them one time with the Aether Spellbomb. So I guess our plan is try an authority of the Consuls even, to try and make sure that the Uro can never attack, and then hope the Karakas keeps them checked until they find a Wasteland, and then we lose the game. Alright, let's try this one. I don't think we can beat our opponent's draw engine. So they've got cards that are individually very powerful, as well as a card that... as well as cards that have really good synergy together. So we're kind of under the gun a little bit, because a lot of our cards aren't individually very powerful. They rely entirely on synergy to do stuff. Yep. Our opponent is drawing 2 cards a turn. If they play that other stuff as Storyteller, they'll be drawing 3 cards a turn. So we do gain a life every time they make a boo, which means this game could drag on a while. So I think we're going to have to be quick at passing the clock here. Let's see what the staff of the Storyteller holds for them. Going to see the Uro come into play tapped here. Yep, so we gain life, they gain 3 life and draw another card. So they've drawn 3 cards this turn. So they're going to sacrifice a creature. So we bounce this one so they don't get to draw a card off of this. Not that I think them drawing a card is the big factor here. I think we just take the 6. Yep, they don't get to draw cards from this because it didn't have haste or trample. It's just doming us for 6. That is probably going to be how they win this game. We need to be quicker on passing priority here. Try and drain out our opponent's clock a little bit, because this game's probably going to go quite long. It's 3 mana. This untaps lands to do stuff. Interesting. No, it doesn't untap the lands, does it? It just plays them. They're going to mill 3 cards and put a permanent into their hand. They find the Wasteland, the game ends. So I think it makes sense for them to mill. I'm surprised they haven't just started Life from Loam to dredge away yet. I think this... are we supposed to I don't think we're supposed to draw off this because we might need to bounce it to stop our opponent being able to finish us off. Executioner's Capsule. This is a card that does something on this board. So now we can draw with the Aether Spellbomb if we want, because we do have the Capsule for a turn. Yep, charge up your lasers. So I'm gaining 2 life this turn if they play the Euro. All of their mana is pretty good here. What does this emblem do? This could be relevant. You may play lands and permanent spells from your graveyard. Yeah, that's pretty good. So this will... Is this until end of turn or... until one becomes 3/3... until your next turn. So this will untap. I see. We could have tapped this down with Pacification Array, couldn't we? That would have been the smart thing to do. Do we blow this up now? I think we take 3 here. Now I'm going to put some counters on this. To 1. Let me read this. Vigilance, Hexproof, Haste. Okay. So this feels like a bit of a combo. I guess we will... Oh, it has Hexproof as well, doesn't it? Okay, yeah, we didn't get a chance to do anything to it at all. Yeah, how do we beat this? Kind of just whistling in the wind here. This very conveniently gets around Meekstone. Urza's Bauble. You play the Bauble. Maybe we can put a chump blocker in the way. Yeah, not really sure how we're supposed to win this game. Our opponent's deck is pretty potent with what they're doing. So they get to make 2 big guys this turn. Old Man of the Sea. Alright. So they're going to bash us with their Tundra that's now larger. Yep. We can't do anything here, can we? I think we just did. Let's just F6 and take a little bit of time off their clock. Because that's relevant for the next games. Not really how I like to play Magic the Gathering, but... Yeah, so they just got this big, hasty guy. This combination of Planeswalkers is pretty strong. And the stuff of Storyteller is pretty nice there too. So, our Meekstones are bad here. And I don't think our Authority of the Consuls is good either. This gives us 7 of these 8 cards. What do I not like here as well? I don't mind a bit of removal. I think that's fine. The Pacification Array, it's a little bit medium here. Old Man of the Sea is not doing anything. I'd rather have a Force of Will. Can we realistically play these much of otherworldly lights? That is the question. I don't know if we can. Like, what can we cut? Now, we're not going to cut the Ratchets because that's the whole thing we're trying to do, and I'd like to at least try and get that up and running. Spell Queller is like an interesting flash thing that can counter a Minsk and Boo. I don't think we want ley lines either. I think we're just doing 8. We don't want to overboard either. Alright, so we now have counter spells to fight their big Planeswalkers. Let's see if that's enough. Alright, so we have an Urza Saga game we can play. We can start churning out tokens as early as turn 2. But a single Wasteland collapses our hand, so I don't think we can keep this. This mana is jamming us in the heart a little bit. But mate, we got a redraw as well. I think we'll keep and we'll throw back the Spellbomb. An uncounterable way of getting rid of a Planeswalker is something I can get behind. So we're going to get the colours that cast Baleful Strix and Dovin's Veto here. So we're going to get an Underground Sea. And we're going to Thoughtseize our opponent. What have we got here? Force of Will, Staff of the Storyteller, Uro. Yikes, pretty good hand. I think we're going to take the Staff of the Storyteller. And that's the card that's going to pull them ahead in the game the most. I guess we crack this now. Yeah, we know they have a Wren. So we're cracking it in case we draw a... Well, we could draw a Force of Will if it's something we require. Seems unlikely we're going to want a Force of Will on the first turn. But okay. So maybe we're supposed to keep that in case we do the Ratchet there. Let's see if this card is good enough for a Force of Will. I don't think it is, but our opponent might. Alright. We have a guy. Would quite like the ability to flip this. So a Bauble or something. An Emry. We can cast the Emry from the battlefield. Okay. We want to cast this now in case this dies in combat. Let's go for the Emry. This is probably good enough to get a Force of Will. Because this plus Ratchet is quite the engine. There we go. Right, so Force of Will, pitching a dress down. Understood. So, Emry's good enough for a Force of Will, Ratchet isn't. I can't necessarily say that I disagree with that too much. I think Emry is definitely Pretty powerful thing. It does a lot of the things that Ratchet does already. Alright, so opponent cracked fetch Uro. We knew this was coming. Did they find a land? They did. Okay. So their Ren Realm Breaker thingy is going to be online soon to do some scary things. Are we just getting Swords to Plowshare right now? It certainly feels like we're getting Swords to Plowshare. We only have one thing going on, so we're going to protect it, I guess. That would have been a wonderful time to draw a bauble and get our stuff going. Now, we could have saved that for Ren, perhaps, but we can attack into a 3/3 guy. And we do now have a Saga to start doing some other stuff with. So there's the Ren. This is just going to make the... This one doesn't untap lands. It just makes guys. This has Vigilance. So it's going to attack us and block our 1/4. So it's not ideal for us, but... So we'll play out this Mox Opal. Good attacks. This is just going to gain us 1 life, isn't it? This doesn't have like Death Touch or something, no. Just gain 1 life. This isn't a creature on our turn anyway, so... And then I think we can hold up Spell Queller or Saga. I think that's probably better than deploying the Baleful Strix here. But maybe I'm wrong. I think we'll run like this. Have the Saga or Spell Queller. Now we could play the Strix, block with the Strix, and get some Ratchet value. Because that dies, it'll flip our guy. But if they play something like a Minsk and Boo here, we don't want to be caught with our trousers down. We kind of need to keep the Spell Queller available to stop that, because Minsk and Boo will just completely run away with the game on this board. Now, we might be able to get ourselves a Pithing Needle to stop that, but we've got sort of problems upon problems here. This allowing them to tap their fetch lands is pretty nice. Also helps versus Blood Moon once you get it down. Mill 3 cards, let's see what they find. An Uro. Sure, that's probably something they were thinking about anyway. Right, let's get dressed down, I guess. So we can make a token here, but if that doesn't work, it's going to be really awkward for us. I think we do... make a deal with the Mox, because this is probably going away in a second. Or not, at least not making us mana. Okay, we can get Pithing Needle here. Name Ren and Realm Breaker. We get attacks. This at Ren and Realm Breaker, this our opponent. Could have something like an Endurance here, but I don't think we can afford to play around everything. There is an Endurance. We could Force of Will this. I think we will. Do we want to get rid of the Spell Queller or the Baleful Strix here? Interesting choice, to be honest. I think it's the Spell Queller. Alright, this lets us clear the Ren. Maybe... I don't know. Like if we put that Pithing Needle on Minsk and Boo and our attack fails, then we're having a really horrible time. But if they play Minsk and Boo now, we're not in such a bad position because we have 5/5s. Okay, they're just playing the Euro. So if we can draw an artifact that we can play, like a 0-drop, then we can attack into the Euro with 7/7. Because we can play the Baleful Strix. And then hopefully play another artifact. We've got 2 looks at it. Not a fan of this Wasteland. They didn't fire it off yet. They're doing it in our upkeep. Sure. Tundra. So we've drawn a land that allows us to cast our Baleful Strix. Black, blue. Can we have a card, please? Alright. It's another Baleful Strix. Let's send in these guys. They can trade an Uro here. And then they're forced to do a similar thing next turn. We could hold back for a turn. But if our opponent's entire turn is just playing Uro, we can work through it. Because after they escape it this time, the next time is going to be harder. And if our Baleful Strix dies at any point, then we flip our Ratchet. Alright, so they did a Ponder. They chose not to shuffle their library. Another sad time for us. A Ratchet. That's not really what we want. Although, this can flip. This can flip our thing because we play this and it's a Legend, so it goes to the bin. But I think what we're going to do here is cast our Baleful Strix first and see if we can draw another artifact and put our guy as a 7/7. A land also does it. It does. No, okay. We have another one of those. So we can make the attack we made last time. And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they can escape the Euro. I don't think we were supposed to attack last time. I think I made a mistake doing that attack. Maybe I was just supposed to hold back. But letting them untap with Euro doesn't feel great. Yikes. Okay, this is very bad news for us. They did not put counters on. Interesting. They're going to put counters on now. Okay, if we could draw a Karakas, that would do something. We could play the front side of Ratchet, because they have different names. So that will give us another artifact. But when stuff starts flipping, it's going to get weird. Oh, Lord. So, I guess we're casting this. Gives us a 7th artifact for our construct. So we can... what are we supposed to do here? What are we supposed to do? If we attack with our 7/7, that's probably not getting us anywhere. But our opponent can just draw 4 cards this turn. And we can't really stop that. But they have to double block if they want to do that play. So I think we have to attack the construct at Minsc. So if they double block here, we can kill the boo and stop them drawing 4 cards. That play is awful, but I think that's what we have to do here. Because if they get a draw 4 off of it, then we're just going to lose the game. Yeah, this is pretty bad. Feels like we don't have enough artifacts that sacrifice. Alright, so they can have a 4/4 again. Karakas, maybe? We can't draw a Ratchet at least this turn. So we can get back a Bauble and try drawing some more cards. If we get back the Bauble, so we play it this way, this will flip back, we'll get the Bauble, then this will die, and then what? We need to gain life somehow. I guess we can suicide in our Ratchet here to go and get ourselves a Bauble back. Because we're going to gain 2 life when this connects. Is that right? Is that still going to trigger or is it just going to die? I think it should still trigger, right? Yes. Okay. So it's going to flip back. Feels like we might be getting surgical here. I'm probably spending a time on this. Swords to Plowshares on our rescue vehicle. Okay, opponent. We've gained 3 life. So we could just put Ratchet back into play here. That's the thing we want to do. Or we could put this Bauble in and start drawing more cards. Then we put the Bauble in and start drawing more cards. So, weird turn for sure. So I think we cast more than meets the eye version of this. Don't worry, opponent, I don't know what I'm doing either. And we'll play this without any brainstorm effects and we'll pass the turn. Our opponent is ahead on clock again because we're trying to work out some weird Ratchet lines. So our opponent can just keep stacking up cards on the boo now. Sacrifice a creature. Sure. So they're going to draw 4 cards. This is the thing we didn't want to happen. They're killing our guy. That's interesting. That brings back our Rescue Ranger. Oh dear, what are they playing now? A Meltdown for 3. Okay, so that's our entire board gone. And then they're bashing us with Uro with a Minsc and Boo in play. Yeah, our opponent's deck is absolutely outclassing us on pretty much every metric available. What can we do here? Force of Negation. I guess we'll play Ratchet Field Medic. Alright, so we are going to get hit for 10 this turn. Yep, I'm not blocking. I don't think we'll win the game by having our one guy that does something leave the battlefield. Jeez. Yeah, our opponent's deck is full of good cards. Yep, we're done here. So that was... It took a while, but I think it was always coming. We didn't really have any lines to really draw to, I don't think. The Pithing Needle play, if we'd have put it on Minsc and Boo and successfully attacked, then I think we're okay. But I think we had to make sure that we beat the things in play. But maybe we're supposed to... I think we still lose that even if we do Pithing Needle, Minsc and Boo, because Uro is going to probably do us. But that's the one decision I would like to replay and see how it would go if I named the Pithing Needle on the Minsc and Boo and then attack down the Wren successfully. Alright, we'll go to round 3 in search of a win. Alright, so we have a hand that should be pretty good against creature decks. So we're going to keep this and hope that our opponent is playing a creature deck. They're mulligan to 6. A volcanic island, you say? Interesting. So we'll go and get ourselves... We can't really get ourselves a plains here if we're going to cast Authority of the Consuls. I think we'll get an island and cast the Meekstone first. This means we can follow up next turn with a Baleful Strix or the Authority, depending on what we think is good. It gives us options. This means if they have some creatures, they'll only be able to hit us once with them if they're big ones. Delver of Secrets, sure. I think they might daze a Baleful Strix if we play it, so I kind of want to play this Authority of the Consuls, Consuls around a daze. They're going to Mishra's Bauble and see something weird, I suspect. Unlike some of the other decks in the format, they don't have any use for Mishra's Bauble in play unless they're going to use it for fetches and stuff. Okay, so they're going to do it on my turn so they can decide if they want to fetch. That seems fair enough. If we want to play out the Authority of the Consuls, we need to go and get planes to do it with. which means we're not on the Urza Saga plan right now. But Urza Saga is a bit of a nombo with Meekstone. So we're going to play out this. This should mean that we hopefully never have to take a hit from a Murktide. And because we have the mana, we'll play a Necrogen Spellbomb. Right, our opponent's cracking their bauble, targeting themselves. Now they want to use their fetch land. Sure. They don't have any Metalcraft or anything in their deck, so the only time that they hold on to baubles really is either if they have a ponder or something coming up they want to power through, or if they want to set up a Delver of Secrets type thing, or get a bit more information for a fetch land, which is exactly what happened there. Does not flip their Delver. It's going to bash us for 1. This is 1 tap before it flips. So if we play the Saga this turn, we don't get to play the Strix. There's a ponder from our opponent. This means that their Delver should probably be set up. They chose not to shuffle their library. Not ideal for us. Pacification Array. I think we're going to play a Baleful Strix around a daze here to try and get some more resources to work with. Urza Saga is not going to be very good at winning us the game because we have a Meekstone in play. Okay. I guess we can play this Pacification Array. We don't really care if it gets countered that much. It's kind of just doing stuff that some of our other permanents already got covered. No. Okay, they're lightning bolting our guy. For a minute I thought they were going to do something to counter our Pacification Array. They can Brazen Borrower our Meekstone out of play for an untap when the time comes. Let's see what our opponent reveals with this Delver. Should be flipping. It didn't flip, but they pondered. Interesting. Alright, so this comes in tapped and gains us a life, which offsets the attack from this Delver. Our opponent hasn't played a Wasteland yet. Maybe they're just sandbagging it. Preordain. We've got no place anyway, so we just let them go through it. We're going to surveil anything into the graveyard. They surveilled a Misty Rainforest. They left both of the cards on top with the Preordain, which isn't great for us. But their Dragon's Age Channelers shouldn't be untapping unless they have a Brazen Borrower. But well, it won't be untapping this turn anyway, but they can untap it the turn after. Let's have a look. What do we got here? A Spell Queller. So we can play a Saga and hold up Spell Queller, or we can just play this Baleful Strix. I think I just want to play a Baleful Strix. I think it's one of the best things in our deck is this Baleful Strix. It's a mighty fine card. Okay, we're going to try and play some Urza Saga game now. We can tap down this Delver if that's the thing we want to do. I don't think it is. Alright, our opponent has a Dragon's Range Channeler. Trigger. Let's have a look what they put. Are they going to mill anything? Okay, they milled the Bauble. Fair enough. Right, so they're shuffling away the 2 cards they put on top with a Brainstorm. Looks like they are just straight blue-red Delver as well. They have multiple chances of fetching other lands, and they haven't. I think they've just replaced like the Expressive Iterations with Preordain and something else from like the stuck blue-red Delver decks of just before the ban. So what do we want to do about this? We'll let it come into play tapped. We'll gain ourselves a life and hope they don't bounce our Meekstone. If this Delver attacks, we'll take the 1 damage. It did not attack. Do you want to draw a card here? I don't think we do. I think we just want to go to our turn and try and get some stuff going for us. So if we play this Saga, we can start activating the Saga next turn, right? Because these 2 will make this, and then we'll have 1 mana plus another land. So if they start bouncing our Meekstone, maybe we can actually field a reasonable board, although we don't have Shadow Spear. Is this going to flip now? I think it was called the Delver that couldn't flip. Alright, what are we looking at here? Probably no attacks from our opponent. Alright, they're attacking for 1. That's fine, I'll take 1. We could have made a Saga token in response, but it felt like they were trying to bait that out. So I didn't want to play into it. We've also got the Spell Queller we're holding up. So I'd rather not commit my mana to a Saga just to prevent 1 damage. Creatures shouldn't really be the issue for us, necessarily. It's the spell, like the Brazen Borrower, that we've got to worry about. Another Delver. We could just Spell Queller this to have a threat in play, but I don't think that's worth doing. I think I'd rather just start making some Saga tokens and try for a big Urza Saga play down the line. Attack with a load of guys. Okay, we've drawn the thing our deck's supposed to do. Interesting. Let's make another construct. So I think we're just going to do like a big Alpha Strike when the time comes. We can play a second Meekstone so our opponent can't Brazen Borrow their way out of this. That feels like how we lose this game is if we lose the Meekstone. So I'm just going to get a Meekstone here. Weird plan that we've got going on here. We'll just crack this for a Tundra now. And then we'll pass. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a load of construct tokens. And then we're going to tap our opponent's creatures down and kill them. Are these Delvers going to flip? Maybe they're getting to the stage where they don't want to flip their Delvers because they won't untap. Nope, they are just doing it. Chain Lightning. Okay. Sure. So they can Chain Lightning our Baleful Strix away. What is this targeting? The Baleful Strix, as expected. I'm not going to Spell Queller this. I'm just going to sit on this Queller. I'd rather make Saga tokens unless something really disastrous happens. We will not pay red to do this because we do not have red. That guy have to attack, sure. Take this 3. I think we're going to win this game. I can feel it. Probably not with the Ratchet, unfortunately, but Pacification Array is going to play a part in this victory if we get it. Let's make some mana. Make this. Can we just win right now if our opponent doesn't have anything? Maybe we can. But we don't need to play it like that. We can play it just a bit more slowly, couldn't we? Let's play the Spellbomb here. Gives us maximum ways of getting rid of our opponent's things. So we could Spellbomb and Pacification Array and then attack. But I think we're going to try and wait one more turn because we're not really up against it right now. So we can Pacification Array at their end step and then Pacification Array in our turn. And that gives us the emergency Spellbomb if we need it. I think the only way we're losing these constructs is if they have a main deck of Braid or the Brazen Borrower. We do have a Spell Queller we can use for that. I imagine they would have done it end of turn then, if that was the thing they wanted to do, because they have lethal damage at the moment. There's a Wasteland. Let's tap down one of these Delvers. I hope our opponent doesn't have Dress Down. That'd be a bit mean. We'll play this out. We'll play this out. We will Pacification Array this guy using these lands. Are we doing it? What is this? Petty Theft on one of our guys. That means we're attacking them with 3 9/9s. That's fine. We can allow that. They still need to get rid of one more guy, so we can save the Spell Queller for that. Petty Theft. Okay, sure. 1, 2, 3. Spell Queller. Wild, absolutely wild. We got a game win. Let's see if we can turn it into a match win. Delver. What do we want to do about Delver? Tricky. We're currently the Dovin's Veto to stop Meltdown. Spell Queller doesn't seem great in the face of a deck that's incredibly efficient. I think we're going to play these Lane of the Void. Old Man and Sea I don't think is where we want to be. We'll have a March for the Watery Light so we can at least pick off a guy early on if we need to. Or do we play a Force of Negation to stop Meltdown? I think I'd like to stop Meltdown. Aether Spellbomb is fine. Necrogen Spellbomb, Nihil Spellbomb, Pacification Array. Like, all of these things are fine, I guess. I think we'll roll it like this. The ley lines give us loads more breathing room. I think we can keep this one. We have their graveyard in check. We have a repeatable draw engine if our Ratchet can actually do some stuff. It does dodge a lot of red removal. And we've got an emergency Spellbomb if we need it. Execution's Capture is pretty good too. I think we'll start off on a basic Plains here. We're doing this now just in case there is something like a Stifle in our opponent's deck. Let's get the Spellbomb down. They could daze this. So if we play Ratchet, we can then just start drawing cards every turn. Or we can do some pretty gross Execution's Capture nonsense as well. The question is, do we play around daze? I think we probably do. A Brainstorm from our opponent, which is a Brainstorm they revealed for their Delver. So I'm going to take a bash for 3 here. Hopefully, we're not going to crack the Spellbomb unless they get enough cards to make a Murktide happen. Unless we're getting cards from it as we go, which is fine. But we'd like to nab a few cards first. Another Delver. Okay. So our Graveyard Hate is not going to really help us against the threats they're representing right now. Pacification Array, not a very exciting one. We can play the Saga to try and get the Meekstone in a few turns. I don't hate that as a strategy. The other thing we can do is play Executioner's Capture. So this is 6, 12, 18. So this isn't going to really be enough on its own, is it? I don't think we have time to do the Ratchet stuff right now. I think we just need to try and get these guys off the board. Let's try an Executioner's Capture. That resolved. We will try the Aether Spellbomb here, because this means we can Spellbomb and Executioner's Capture next turn if we need to. If our opponent has a Meltdown, we lose the game, but that's going to be a thing that happens to us very often, I imagine. What is this one going to do? Oh look, they brainstormed and then their Delver flipped. Who'd have thought? They got a Ponder. I imagine they're firing off pre-combat. Sure. So we're taking 6 here, which is a lot. They did not shuffle their library from the Ponder. It's going to be tough for us to win this game, I think. Especially since the next land down the pipeline is going to be wastelandable. So we have a choice if we go for the Saga or the Seat. If we take 6 this turn, we take 3 next turn, that puts us to 7. That's 2.5 bolts, basically. We might be able to stabilize a little bit, but I'm not so sure. I think we're going to play the Saga out to try and get a Meekstone. And we're going to try and cast our Pacification Array here. Holding up our Executioner's Capsule. This can be done at instant speed if I remember rightly. Yes. Okay, so we're going to kill one of the Delvers, take 3, and then we can tap down the Delvers from that point onwards. And maybe have ourselves a Aether Spellbomb activation to keep us alive, if that's the thing we require. So we're just treading water, and if our opponent has a scary threat, then we're in trouble. Okay, so there's a Brainstorm here. We literally can't beat Meltdown with our hand, so there's no point trying to play around it. We need to just do what we can to survive. Feels like a thing I'm going to be doing a lot. There's a Ponder. They shuffled their library this time. Okay. That means there wasn't a Meltdown in those cards. That's always nice to hear. Right. Let's kill this off. Our opponent hasn't played a land yet. Are we supposed to Nihil Spellbomb to stop them playing a Murktide right now? I don't think so. I think we have to try and get a little bit of value because of how far behind we are. Okay, just a Channeler. Okay, that's alright. Not great, but we can survive. Sure, they're going to see what we're drawing. Force of Negation. That's a pretty annoying one for them to see. So we'll play our Seat of the Synod here. I think we will play our Authority of the Consuls. This way, if they do play a Murktide, it'll be tapped down for the Meekstone we're about to get. So we can tap a guy down and we can bounce the guy. And that's how we're going to try and stay alive for another turn. And then maybe we can start doing Ratchet stuff soon. It's possible. We might be able to get to do the thing we want to do. Beginning of combat. We will tap down the Delver because I would rather bounce the Dragon's Rage Channeler here because it's going to come in untapped. It's going to come in tapped. I think we do need to do that to save ourselves the life. The plan next turn is to play Ratchet and get our Nihil Spellbomb going. Oh, for a minute I thought we'd get stifled. We're not dead if this connects with us, but it makes our life total incredibly precarious. I'd like to get above 9 life in an ideal world. We will need to try and resolve this Ratchet somehow. Our opponent has an almighty grip of cards. We haven't really been playing anything worth countering though, so it's kind of lots of small little pieces that don't really feel worth it. Alright, and they're going to play this Dragon's Rage Channeler second main phase. They have a Wasteland, so we don't get Meekstone. That's really bad for us. Okay. Okay. We could draw a Meekstone. This is going to come in tapped, and it's going to gain us a life. Which might be relevant. We will need to sap our opponent's graveyard now, though. Let's play this out. We will try and cast... so when we gain life, this flips, doesn't it? So we're going to play it this way round. Yeah, we're going to do it this way round, and then we're going to draw off the Nihil Spellbomb. Will this resolve? Who knows? So what we can do is we can wait till they go to attacks, then we can strip their graveyard out, and then they'll be attacking with a 1/1 Channeler that we can then gobble up. The only thing with that is if we do that, so we've already played a land this turn. But if we draw a Mox, we can play the Mox and deploy that. I think we have to take 3 from the Delver this turn. So he's going to go to attacks. We will do this. We're going to be drawing a card over this. Oh, bauble. Okay. So this is going to come back. We're going to wipe our opponent's graveyard. And then we're going to block this Dragon's Rage Channeler. To gain some life, kill the Channeler, and get back the Executioner's Capsule to then deal with the Insectile Aberration. Weirdly doing stuff here. We're kind of getting there. Our opponent has a red mana floating. They are lightning bolting, targeting our Ratchet. Sure. This means our Ratchet will die in this combat, which is not great for us. But we do get to bring back something. So, We can have the Executioner's Capture, I think is the best one here. Or is it the Nihil Spellbomb just to draw another card and stop them deploying? I think it's the Nihil Spellbomb here, right? Let's get the Nihil Spellbomb out. This stops us getting Murktide on the following turn. They got another Delver. But we're still in combat, so they need to finish dealing me damage. If they play a creature, we gain life at least. Okay. This is going to come in tapped. We're going to gain 1 life. Opponent's making us work for this one. A Scrubland. That's not really the one, is it? So we will draw a card and exile the graveyard. Oh, baby. Here's the silly little guy. He's just a silly little guy doing his silly little things. So we'll cast More Than Meets the Eye. We've got our Rescue Racer. And we've got a tap down available as well. So if our opponent plays a creature, in response we'll do this because it'll flip it, and then we'll get the life gain off the authority of the Consuls, and then we'll get the rebuy. Okay, so we'll crack this. Guess how the Tundra, I think, at this point. We will Pacification Array the Delver. This will save us taking damage this turn. Which Delver shouldn't be attacking. Okay. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Let's have a look at their hand. A Ponder, sure. This comes in. Triggers this. We gain life. We will use the ability. And we will get back. Oh, sorry, this flips, doesn't it? And then we get back one of these artifacts. So what do we want here? I think we would like an Executioner's Capture. Alright, we're kind of doing it. Obviously, we immediately lose to Meltdown still. But if we can find... Well, actually, we might have enough mana to hold up this Force of Negation. So we get an extra card here. It's a land, and we have a Bauble. So if we kill this Delver, it'll flip our Racer, which can still attack. Go to attacks. Get the Racer going. I think we've assembled the engine. So we gain some life. We will use his ability. I would like to get back this Executioner's Capsule. Wowzers trousers. This feels pretty fun. Alright, we're actually doing the thing. Play this Urza's Bauble. And play this Flooded Strand. We can crack this to flip this. But we don't need to do that just now. I would quite like to have another card in hand. In case we get Dovin's Veto. Murktide Regent, sure. Okay, Gideon of the Trials. Interesting. A weird inclusion in the deck, I think, but it's another thing to try and help the Ratchet do its stuff. Oh, we've already had the trigger once from the Ratchet, haven't we? That's fine. We'll just fire the Executioner's Capture and just go again next turn. If this is a Meltdown, we've got the Force of Negation. Feels like a Meltdown turn. Cast targeting this. Blue, blue, and 1. Maybe I'm supposed to let them surveil first, actually. They have a Force of Will. Alright. We're going to lose a lot of permanents this turn. We're not going to lose our Pacification Array, though. We're not going to lose our Ratchet. So, not so bad. We lose a land and a thing, and our Ratchet flips. Okay. Take a bit of a hit here for 4. Umezawa's Jitte. So we know our opponent's got Murktide. Let's play an Umezawa's Jitte. Let's put this on our guy. Let's attack with our guy. So yes, we'll use ability. We will get back this Executioner's Capture because we know there's a Murktide in our opponent's hand. Alright, so we can ping off the Sextile Aberration or the Dragon's Rage Channeler. So it's just a Murktide. No, we know they've got Pyroblast as well, right? Yeah. We'll kill the Delver off. Okay, so I can play the Murktide here, and then we can kill it with the Executioner's Capsule and swing with our Ratchet, and then get back the Executioner's Capsule for the next threat. Okay. Like, I think we're supposed to just fire this off, or are we just supposed to equip? Interesting. Let's kill this guy and flip our little lad. What do we got here? A lightning bolt targeting my face. Understood. Okay, so we don't have correct information about what's in our opponent's hand because they've brainstormed some of it away at some point. This guy dies. And then we will equip the Jitte. We're going to attacks. This Get some counters on our Jitte. Go and get back the... I think we'll just get the Executioner's Capture again. Like all of our opponent's threats die to that. Do we want to represent Force of Will blue card or do we just want more mana? I think we just want more mana here. Like we're happy just to attack with our little car. If our opponent doesn't play anything, and if they do play anything, we can kill it. Wowzers. Let's play this. And I would like to draw a card here. Let's draw a card. Which is going to flip into the other guy. Then we'll equip this. Oh yeah, we got there. We got a match win. We got a match win. We dodged the 0-5. That's something. So we are 3 rounds in and we got our first match win. Not so bad. I'll take it. Okay, we're on the play. We've got some stuff here, haven't we? We'll keep this. We can play Authority of the Consuls into Baleful Strix. Just ordinary magic. There's nothing weird happening. Maybe we'll get a counter spell on our Authority because it's a weird card and people sometimes counter weird cards. Alright. Our opponent is immediately confused as to what we're doing, which is how we like it. Schooling time. Are we just going to play more Delver? No. Okay. Unless it's Jeskai Delver or something. A Ponder. My control sense is tingling, but getting the Tundra there is interesting. That suggests to me that they have multiple colours and not just like blue-white with a red splash or something. There could be Breakfast as well, Cephalid Breakfast. Let's play out a little guy. Black, blue, let's have an owl. Okay, so we have this Ratchet. We don't really have anything to go with it just yet. So this is going to be something that we're going to sit on for a little bit. Our opponent has white removal in their deck most likely, which means that we're not going to be able to rebuy a Baleful Strix or anything because it's just going to get exiled if it does get killed. Let's see what colour they go for here. Oh, basic. Interesting. Maybe they are just blue-white and they wanted a Tundra first because they didn't necessarily have the colours of mana in their hand. A Shuko. Okay, so we know what our opponent's playing. It's Breakfast. How do we beat Breakfast? Tough. Tough to know that one. We now have a thing that we can start doing stuff with. But if we play this out and play this out, that's 3 artifacts. And play out a land and crack this for... Guess I'll have a Tundra. We can go white, blue, cast Rescue Racer. We're going to hold up Dovin's Veto because I don't think they're going to hit with the Cabal Therapy on us. So we might be able to just Dovin's Veto their Dread Return if they go off next turn. That's our strategy anyway. Whether or not it works, I do not know. Do I want a card for our opponent's turn and to turn so into a creature? I think we do. Then we're just going to bauble up, transform a lad, and... Okay, Stoneforge Mystic. Kind of worried about the Stoneforge Mystic plan for our opponent, to be honest. We don't really have any good answers to that. I guess we can bounce the token if we find our little thing, and we can... I guess we can Meekstone it as well, I suppose. A Teferi Time Raveler. I guess we have to cast this. White, blue. Say no to Teferi. Because if we don't counter that, we don't get to counter anything. Alright. Let's get in with our Ratchet Field Medic. We'll start off with a cheeky little Thoughtseize. Cabal Therapy, Brainstorm, Stoneforge Mystic, Narcomoeba. Is it Stoneforge we're most scared of here, I think? If they Brainstorm into Cephalid Illusionist, we lose. But I don't think we beat the Stoneforge either. I think we're going to take the Stoneforge. Right, so we gain 2 life here. Yes, we will get this card out of our graveyard. We don't get to draw with it because it comes in tapped, unfortunately. We'll play out this fetch land and we'll pass. We're not representing Force of Will blue card. So our opponent's definitely going to cast this Brainstorm. There it is. If we find the Cephalid Illusionist, we lose the game. Maybe we're supposed to take the Brainstorm. But we're kind of hoping that we can draw some... okay. Alright, we will F6 this turn. We just want to see our opponent's deck. They've won this game, but I'd like to see what they're working with. Maybe we're supposed to take that Brainstorm instead. And if we take the Brainstorm, we're just going to kind of lose to the Stoneforge Mystic. Because at least if the Stoneforge Mystic isn't there, we can keep attacking with our Ratchet and draw some cards. And maybe draw into some additional permission. Whereas if we take the if we take the Brainstorm, we have the chance that our opponent misses. It's like a 3 in 50 chance. And that's better than losing to the thing that is right in front of us that will beat us. Alright, our opponent's nearly finished milling their deck. What are we seeing here? No main deck removal. They're just on the full Stoneforge plus step through type stuff. Sure. I just wanted to see their deck. They have daisies. This is what I would describe as a very stock list. So, we're going to be boarding a lot of cards here. Lane on the Void is going to do some stuff. Force of Will is going to do some stuff. Force of Negation, maybe. Marsh Flats Light can also do stuff. Spell Queller looks quite expensive and problematic here. I don't really want this Old Man of the Sea, to be honest with you. Pacification Array, I don't think we need that. I think we're just going to take one hit from something with the Meekstone. Don't think we want these Authority of the Councils either. Consuls, you know the jam. I think we do want the Jitte because that's removal for their guy. Necrogen Spellbomb, if we can loop it and make them discard, that's pretty good, but it's probably just a little bit too cute. But it does draw us a card, I guess. We do need those effects in our deck, really. Gideon of the Trials. You can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. Huh. That's something, isn't it? I think Force of Negation is the weak link of all of these things because we can't Force of Negation the things that actually kill us. So you have to cut one of these things. It's probably a Meekstone. We can just shoot it for a Meekstone. Maybe we just want one Meekstone and we'll have one of these Force of Negations. We could have the Spell Queller to kind of like the guy, but all they have to do is bounce us once and then we're in trouble. So I think we're going to submit like this. We've got a Force of Will. That's something. We can play the Baleful Strix out on turn 2 as well. We'll keep this. Our mana is a little bit shaky, but I can live with that. There is an argument for playing out the Baleful Strix on turn 1, but that will mean we'll require another artifact to make our Mox Opal work. We're going to need another artifact either way, aren't we? If we think about it. Play this one out. Play this one out. Play this one out. I think we are playing this out now. We just need to get deeper into our deck and find another mana source. This isn't a particularly threatening card, but it's what we've got. Ratchet Field Medic. Okay. We're going to need to find a mana source. Our Mox Opal is not online, but we have Force of Will blue card. If we can get the Executioner's Capture in play, we can use that to pick off one half of their combo, because their combo is creature based. No play on turn 1 from our opponent. Please draw a mana source. It's a mana source. We found one. But does this mana source actually do anything for us is the question. We can't cast this because we've got no black mana. We can't cast this because we've got no white mana. Maybe this wasn't to keep. I figured we had a few draws in us before we could be worried about that. Mana source this turn means we go down the as a Saga line regardless. Oh, yikes. Awkward. So, not great. But our Urza Saga will pop next turn and will get us a Mox, not Mox, a Lotus Petal, which will turn on Metalcraft, which will give us other options, like hardcast Dovin's Veto, which is a thing we can do. They have seen the Dovin's Veto now, so they're going to be more likely to try and disrupt it. Right, so there's a Saga from our opponent. It's a Fairy Time Raveler. I don't think I want to play against this. I think it's a Dovin's Veto here. Not a massive fan of this play, but alright, they got Force anyway. So the problem with holding up with Dovin's Veto is it becomes increasingly difficult to do, and removal can shut it off because of our mana situation right now. Are they going to bounce our Urza Saga? If they do, they lose their Teferi. Maybe that's not so bad for us, to be honest. Oh my god. What is this I see before me? Let's go to attacks first and kill the Teferi. So this will get us a black source. So we're going to get a Scrubland, I think, here. And we'll cast our Executioner's Capture. This will be our third artifact, so we'll be able to Executioner's Capture away our opponent's Cephalid Illusionist, if that's the thing we need to do. We could go shields down and jam the Ratchet this turn, but we can do that next turn without going shields down anyway, so I think we just wait a turn on that. I don't think having a Ratchet in place swings this game enough that it's worth tapping out and hoping for the best. A Spellbomb. Okay, this is a good one. This is better than casting Ratchet, I think. This shuts off the combo, potentially. Force of Negation, pitching, Force of Negation. Understood. Do we care about this Urza Saga. Do you want to just keep hitting our opponent? I think we'll hit our opponent this turn, and then next turn we will possibly hold back. So they're going to pivot to an Urza Saga beatdown plan. That's pretty good. So the Executioner's Capsule beats their combo unless they have Nomads, Shuko, and Cephalid Illusionist. Because we have to kill the Nomads before they cast the Illusionist in that situation, and then they just get to Shuko away. Okay, they're making a guy here rather than floating mana. Are we pivoting to Shuko beatdown? We take 4 this turn. Yeah. But at any moment they can just say, nope, you're dead with the combo. We can Executioner's Capsule this construct token if we want to. But I don't think we can go shields down because if our opponent has a Illusionist, we lose the game. And we got life total to work with, might as well use it as a resource while it's there. We could deploy the Ratchet or the Baleful Strix next turn. Both of them kind of deal with what's in play in different ways. So if we go black, blue for this guy, we might draw a coloured source that we'd rather play than this Saga. Force of Negation is not the one, is it? But we have something to do with our mana now. We can make our own Urza Saga tokens that will be bigger than our opponents. But I think we'll just trade off a Baleful Strix if we get given the opportunity to. We might even trade off both of them here. Come on, both of their guys. Neither of their guys. Oh, yeah. Okay, not doing anything here, so let's make a construct of our very own. Our opponent looked like they were going to cast something earlier, so maybe they've got something they can cast at instant speed at end of turn. Borrower or something to mess with us. No, okay. Have a decision point here. Okay. Put both these abilities on the stack. We will just tap this one for mana, I think. What do we want here? I think we take Pithing Needle and name Nomads in Core. So if we want to play Thoughtseize, we're not going to use this mana. I think we don't use that mana. I think we want to Thoughtseize our opponent. Let's go to combat first though. If they want to kill this, they have to put both guys in front of it. Or they can just take a bit of a hit there. That's nice. Okay, so we'll go black mana here. Thoughtseize our opponent. Well, that's the wrong way of doing it, isn't it? We could have kept open our Force of Negation there. Oh wow, we got a concession there. Alright, we get to go to another game. They haven't seen ley lines yet, which is pretty good news for us as well. Not convinced we need the Jitte. I think I'd rather have a Force of Negation instead of the Jitte, thinking about it. What does our hand do? We can march the Otherworldly Light away our opponent's Saga and have the Aether Spellbomb as well. And we can use our Sagas to just go and get our Graveyard Hate. So I think this is fine, but not ideal. I'll take fine, but not ideal. Typical. Sure. So we'll play this as a Saga. Play an Aether Spellbomb. We'll play a Mox Opal. We can hard cast this Leyline in the Void in the not too distant future. We probably don't get a Saga token next turn. No play from our opponent, interesting. Or a Force of Will with no blue card. Alrighty then. So we'll play this out. I think we're getting white, black-white here, in case you want to cast the Leyline soon. And I think we're just going to cast this Meekstone to turn our Mox Opal on. This means next turn we can hard cast a Leyline in the Void and hopefully draw a blue card to go with it. And we can do a little March of the Worldly Light this turn if our opponent does something that we want to march away. Sure, a Brainstorm. We do need to draw another blue card. If our opponent goes for it this turn, it might prove difficult for us. We don't have another white card to pitch to the march either. We do have the Spellbomb though, so we can buy a turn that way. There's a Ponder, sure. Just sculpting away. I imagine they're going to try and play a Teferi before they try and combo anyway. Our March for the Worldly Light does not hit Teferi. If we hardcast Leyline in the Void, our opponent can just go off. And we can't do anything about it. But we are getting the Nihil Spellbomb, so maybe we'll be okay. Oh, this is what we've been waiting for. Boop. Let's exile this before they can tap it for mana. Love March for the Worldly Light as a Wasteland. The old 1-mana Sinkhole at instant speed. Sign me up. There's a Brainstorm. They don't like it. Force of Will. Sure. Pitching Ponder. Alright, we got 2 for 1 out of that. Interesting. This is our blue card, so I think we're going to go tap this for mana and then go and fetch a Nihil Spellbomb. And then we'll play this one out. Our opponent's only got 3 cards in hand. So we'll cast this. So black, black, 1, 1. And we've got Force of Will blue card as well. Alright. Force of Will blue card and Nihil Spellbomb. We can untap and have an Aether Spellbomb available. We've got a lot of their stuff checked. Now, they could just make Urza Saga tokens and just sort of do a little beatdown plan. But we do have a Spellbomb if that gets out of hand. So we can get rid of one of them. Which will sort of cut their damage by more than 50% because obviously one pumps the other. I imagine they might be on the Saga plan here. Yep, okay. If Sagas are too big, the Meekstone will hit them as well. It's not really what we wanted to see there, is it? So we can make a token or Thoughtseize here. I think we just hold up our stuff and make tokens. Our tokens are bigger than theirs, so we can certainly roadblock them, but they're not gonna be great at attacking because we have a Meekstone. Getting hit by our own Meekstone on several times here. Right, so they're playing a Flooded Strand. Cracking a Flooded Strand, getting a Plains. Oh, sorry, that's in their upkeep. They're just cracking the one they had. Apologies. So, the Urza Saga. Are they going to make another token here? No, they're floating mana. That's a little bit concerning. A Shuko. A Teferi Time Raveler. If we don't counterspell this, we don't get to counter anything else. So I'm going to Force of Will this. We can pay around a days. Alright, Teferi's gone. That also bounces the ley line. So we have to get rid of that because that gets rid of our... Oh! We got another match! Ooh! We're even record. We're 2-2 with Ratchet deck. Alright. We're doing... Okay, now Ratchet didn't really have much to do with that game, but we're getting there, right? Okay. Pretty excited about this. Let's go on to the final round to see if we can get the 3-2. We're on the play for the final round. We've got some stuff. We can assemble a Executioner's Loop. If we can find some black mana, which we can get off the Saga. I think we'll try this one. We'll do Plains, Authority of the Consuls. Why do I have so much trouble saying this card? Who knows? Alright. Our opponent mulligan to 6. That doesn't really mean anything. Let's see if we can get that 3rd win. Alright. A Tropical Island. If this is going to be like a hot bank control deck, we're going to get picked apart pretty hard again, I think. So we're going to play out our Urza Saga. And we're going to play out a little van. Let's get our ambulance going. We have an ambulance. I think we're just playing Urza Saga game. Oh, that's bad. We're not playing an Urza Saga game anymore. Understood. Feels like we're playing against Hot Bant, but it could just be a regular Bant. Our playing around Wasteland earlier has kind of come back to bite us a little bit with what's on display here. Let's get a little bit of damage in. Powerful 1 damage attack. Then we're going to put a... We have a white spell, so we should be getting Scrubland here. And we'll play this Executioner's Capture. If our opponent does have creatures, we can at least kill them. So if we play the Tundra out on turn 1 to play our Authority of the Consuls, maybe that gets Wasteland and we get set back anyway. So I think we're still right to play the basic out there. Oh, we have a fan of the channel. Alright. So, we have a Gideon of the Trials, which is certainly an unusual card. So it might... Oh, I do like Umezawa Jitte. Doesn't have haste, does it? Plays all damage reduction. No, okay. We're going to go to attacks here. Attack with a little guy. Do I want to just jam this, or do I want to try and play the Baleful Strix? I think I want the Strix to sort of develop my mana a little bit. And maybe try and force the Gideon through a little bit later. Like, we'd like to hit a 4th land so that we have the option of doing Jitte Equip, if that becomes a thing we need to do. I'd like to see some more lands from our opponent's deck and see what colour they are operating with. I do get the feeling that they're on a Hot Bant style deck. I don't know, I just feel it in my bones. There we go, look at that. It could be Rug, to be fair. Oh, they've cracked a fetch land. Okay, it's looking more like Rug now. An Uro. A tapped Uro. Ooh, they gain life though. But we could really do with drawing like an Urza's Bauble or something. Let's get a little racer car going. A little ambulance. Spell Queller is an interesting one here. I think we're going to just hold up the Spell Queller. Our opponent is representing Minsk and Boo as a thing they can do with their deck. So I would like to not get Minsk and Booed. Now, the inroads we're making into this game are very small. Right, we're attacking for very tiny amounts of damage. So we're going to need something else. Is this a Minsk and Boo? They're just doing an Uro. Sure, let's try and put a threat in play. Whoop. Let's counter this Uro. This also gives us more aggression because we've doubled the size of our clock. We did not have a great size clock, if I'm being honest with you. So now we can attack, and we're going to deploy the Gideon in the second main. White, white, white. Leaving open the blue, so they suspect something like Spell Pierce. Alright, so we will get an emblem, because that's basically free. We don't really have a good +1 target. I don't think just having the extra loyalty is going to matter too much. These decks tend to not run things like bolts. Oh my god! There's a Chain Lightning. Okay, it's on our guy anyway, so that's... we do not have the red to pay. Chain Lightning and Uro. Interesting. Uro is a card that tends to lend itself to longer games, and Chain Lightning is a card that wants to finish games off. So it's kind of an interesting selection of cards from our opponents so far. So interested to see where this goes. It could just be like a Delver deck that's had like an Uro-y Delver deck that's just had like weird selection of draws and sort of that's got like a couple of Uros at the top end but just happen to draw them. There's a lot of options. It could be like the Stiflenaut deck that might have things like Chain Lightning to close it out. Okay, we should have done the +1. I was not expecting our opponent to have lightning bolts, and we've been punished for that. Punished pretty hard, I would say. Alright, we have another land that we don't really have a lot to do with. So let's cast this Umezawa's Jitte. Let's equip this to our bird. That's the one that we'd most like our opponent to waste removal on because it's already gotten us a card. A Petty Theft on the Jitte. Sure. Our opponent kind of doesn't really want to play creatures that stay in play too much and let us get our executioners. Alright, we'll get a tiny bit more damage in. I think we might lose this game because I didn't expect our opponent to have lightning bolts in their deck. But I guess they didn't show us another colour, so I could have deduced they would have something like that. We can play this second Authority of the Consuls because it's going to give us another life when stuff comes in. 1 Tundra. Cast this. I suspect we're probably boarding out the Authority of the Consuls in the next game, but we'll see. If we see more of our opponent's deck, we get more of an idea of what we're supposed to be doing. They know the one card we have in hand. They know we're not doing anything this turn, so we can F6. Don't have to have the illusion of something in our hand. Alright, we've got Brainstorm from our opponent. Into a Ponder. They've shuffled. Makes sense. Cast a Mistress Bauble. Alright. Can we find something? A Dovin's Veto. That's interesting. That makes me not want to equip the Jitte this turn. So I think we're going to attack first. And then it'll be like, oh, we forgot to do the Jitte. Just playing the Borrower. Is this going to trade with the bird? No, it can't trade with the bird, can it? I think we will destroy this now, though. So black and white. This will flip our Rescue Ranger. Racer, even. Which means when we connect with our opponent, we're going to gain some life and get the thing back. 4 life. You get something great if we had something more expensive here. We only have one option anyway, so... Ah, my opponent's worked out what's going on a little bit there. Alright, we're going to hold up this Dovin's Veto because our opponent could be casting Minsk and Boo. Short Ponder's fine. We just want to counter the Minsk and Boo. If we can draw a land, we can play and equip Jitte holding up Dovin's Veto. Or Execution's Capture. We don't have to immediately blow stuff up. But if we get the option of blowing stuff up, it's worth doing because it's basically free and lets us deal more damage. Because it flips us to the other side. They are a Delver deck. We're up to 30 life now. 31 life. What a silly deck. Right, what are we going to have here? A Pithing Needle. I think we'll just attack with our guys. We don't really care about the Delver for now. We just hold our stuff up, I think. I think we will play out a Jitte though. But not equip it. I don't think we fight over this. Alright. Again, Minsk and Boo is what I'm scared of. There could be some other bits and pieces that they have that would be kind of terrifying. Maybe... I'm trying to think what else actually. My opponent's got a lot of land over there. I imagine that's a lot more lands they wanted. As I predicted after seeing the Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt, they are on a Delver type list. That just has Uro as a top end, I guess. What is this? Is it going to be some card I've never seen before from the new set that destroys me? That certainly has happened on many occasions. Uro. It's just an Uro. That's fine. They gain 3, I gain 2. Really want to draw a land. Didn't attack with the Delver, eh? Not a fan of this one. I think we will equip this Jitte to this Baleful Strix. It's the one that I don't care if they bounce or remove. They don't have green for something like endurance. Let's see if we can get in here. Let's remove a counter from this. We can afford to let the Euro hit us. I just don't want to get hit by Minsk and Boo. It's pretty ugly letting this hit us, but in the end step we'll kill it anyway. But I'd rather hold up the thing for the scary thing that snowballs the game. Obviously, Array is pretty scary and snowballs game is hard too. So what we can do here is we can Executioner's Capture this. A lightning bolt on our Baleful Strix. This is going to flip our Ratchet. Sure. Are they doing this so they can try and kill it end of turn? Or not? I think at end of turn... No, we don't want to gain 2 life immediately because then they can kill our guy in response. So I think we go to attacks here. Try and get back our Baleful Strix. A petty theft. I think we are going to Dovin's Veto this. I know I've been holding on to this for Minsk and Boo, but we have a Pithing Needle. Just get our Baleful Strix back. Draw a card. A Karakas. That's not a bad one. So what are we playing here? We want to play the Pithing Needle, don't we? Sure. They're cracking a scoring time so that we can't name it. That makes me think they don't have Minsk and Boo, because if I had Minsk and Boo in my deck, I probably wouldn't do that. I would hold it back as a thing to try and trick us into naming the scoring tarn. We'll play on as a Saga. And I guess we're going to Authority of the Consuls. And then we will... do we want to do this in our opponent's upkeep, I think? Because that way, when it flips, we can flip it back again with the Jitte trigger. So we can take a count off this and gain 2 life. So if we try and remove our guy, we can save it because it won't be a creature. Whereas if we did that on our turn, it's a creature still. What a ridiculous game. Certainly a fun way to end the night, I suppose. Doing all sorts of nonsense. I can't believe they lost this. Yeah. Okay. Sideboarding. They've shown us that Leyline might be good. I quite like Jitte here. I think the creature package is going to be good. They seem like they're on the creature spectrum. I think Spell Queller is a bit of a trap here. I would rather have Force of Wills. Old Man of the Sea. This is a weird one to me. I don't understand it. So let's have a Force of Negation because they're probably bringing in Minsk and Boo now. I don't really want to 2-for-1 myself with these spells though. That's kind of the issue here. March for the really can get rid of early stuff, but we kind of need to hit their meltdown. I think we're going to keep it like this and submit. Okay, we have the your creatures don't get to do things hand, so I guess we'll keep this. And we can run this off of basic lands as well, which is interesting. Dragon's Rage Channeler, sure. Maybe we should have brought in the ley lines. I don't know. Right, so we crack this for basic planes, we can't get wastelanded. We'll play this out so we can't get dazed. We'll play out this silly Authority of the Consuls. And next turn we can play out a Meekstone. And maybe an Executioner's Capture to go with it. A Delver of Secrets, sure. I will gain a life. And I'll lose a life. And it's all parity there. We want to be relatively expedient with our clock here because that first game took a long time, so I don't want to get jammed up. There's a Saga, a pretty nice one here. We'll play out this Saga. We'll play out Meekstone here. I don't think we pop our Petal because the Petal has a lot of text with our Ratchet because it can be a thing that flips our little buggy into the man again. Buggy is an ambulance, right? It's a medic that turns into an ambulance, not a buggy. Alright, what's our opponent up to there? No flip on the Delver. That might be intentional though. I think I just want to play... I'm going to go get a black source here. And I am going to Thoughtseize our opponent and potentially use our Petal to make a Saga token. I want to see if there's a meltdown on our opponent's hand. Force of Will, Pitching Days. Sure. That is interesting to me. That makes me think our opponent definitely has meltdown. How do we go about beating meltdown? I guess it's not the end of the world if they meltdown us. We can replay a Meekstone if this flips. Okay, it didn't flip. Again, they might not be wanting it to flip. Weirdly. I think I will make a token here. This will be a 2-2, so we can swallow up the Dragon's Race Channeler here. Alright. Do we want another Urza's Saga token? What are we doing if not that, is the question, right? If they have another land, they melt down into our Ratchet, and I don't really like exposing ourselves to that. What would I like here? We can name... I think we will get the Nihil Spellbomb to shut off some of their stuff here. We could get Wasteland. We could get Pithing Needle for Wasteland, but I think we're going to play out this way. I think we're going to go to attacks. I'm expecting these all to get meltdowned. Our opponent, Force of Willed, I have to imagine that's one of the things that they would protect from a Thoughtseize. Or maybe they just thought the Daze was going to be bad and it was worth protecting some other stuff, maybe? This is going to be Energy Flux. That's worse for us. Murktide Regent. Okay. This won't untap. It's only a small one. There's a Wasteland. Not a fan of that. Sure. Another Meekstone. Yikes indeed. I think we want to do this Nihil Spellbomb. I guess we're attacking first though. We could play the Ratchet. I kind of want the land now, so I'm going to do this now and get ourselves a card. Another Ratchet, you say? More Ratchets and yet more Ratchets. Understood. It's going to flip, or they're going to keep it as a 1-1. They're coming in for 1. So they can now do a meltdown that will eat our Ratchet as well. Not a fan of that, but I don't really think we have a choice there. And there's a Saga. That's a very nice draw. We'll take that. We can play this on the... We can choose which way we play it around. We can try and play it around Daze. Or we can try and play it just on the better side. I think we're going to do it like this. We are exposing it to Daze here. Our opponent only has 2 cards in hand. Ooh, we got movement. Blue, blue. It is a Daze, sure. Alright. Just going to flip now. I'm curious to see if they flip it, given the choice. Okay, so they have the choice and they have chosen to flip it. So they have a meltdown. We know they've got a lightning bolt now. If they cast meltdown, we can then just play the Meekstone and shut down their stuff again. I think we're just going to... we can play out another Meekstone here, so they can't Brazen Borrower us. I think I like that. Because we still have one if they melt us down. We know one of our opponent's cards. Maybe they're just trying to hit enough bolts to get us. So we can make a big guy here. This is going to be a 5-5. Force of Will. I think we're still making our thing here. Does play into Meltdown, but... What would I like? Have these cards. Which of them can trip? I guess is the actual correct answer, isn't it? We don't have the mana for this. We have the mana for Necrogen Spellbomb, so... Get the Spellbomb. That gives us more options. I think we are just going to attack for 7 here. Because we don't know if we're going to be able to attack next turn anyway. So we may as well try and get them this way. This has to be a meltdown turn from our opponent, surely. A Dragon's Raised Channeler, sure. They've got Lightning Bolt and one other card in hand. It's got to be meltdown. Brotherhood's End. That's the same thing, isn't it? So we know they have a Lightning Bolt in hand. So if we activate this Necrogen thing now, it's not actually going to do anything because they're just going to Lightning Bolt us to the face anyway. So I think what we want to do here is draw a card. Okay. We know our opponent's last card in hand, so we do get to keep their creatures locked down and then just play the Ratchet and hopefully get there with it. Weird game. I guess that's what you get for playing this deck full of weird cards. Hello, Meekstone. Hello, Ratchet. I guess we have to cast it on this side because that's all we can afford. Then we can play this out. And do we play out the Executioner's Capture this turn? I don't think we do because we don't want to get Meltdown number 2'd. Or Brotherhood's End, or whatever it's called. It's basically Meltdown. The Dragon's Race Channeler is able to attack. Does it want to attack is the real question here. So crack that fetch land. We can get them. So we know they've got a Lightning Bolt. Let's play an Executioner's Capture. And we'll tap this for white. And play this. Then we'll play this out. Keep this one. This will flip our Racer. We'll go to attacks. Put our opponent to 1, hopefully. This will give us a lot of options of artifacts we can find from our bin if this connects. Oh, baby. We're in. What artifact do we want? I How much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3. So we don't have enough for a Force of Will right now. Our opponent's got quite a few cards there. Probably just Nihil Spellbomb here, isn't it? We could get a Lotus Petal. That way, if they can't cast Chain Lightning on us. It probably is just the Nihil Spellbomb though. That way, if they melt us down, we can pay black and get a card. So this Dragon's Race channel has to stay black on blocks, I think. Petty Theft. Targeting our Meekstone. That's not great for us, is it? We do have the removal spell in the Execution's Capture though. Alright, so we got Ponder as well. It's pretty good from our opponent. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So they're 1 damage off of killing us if they swing all out. Let's see how many guys come across. All of these guys. We will kill this Murktide. Lightning Bolt targeting our Ratchet. Okay. That's the Lightning Bolt we know about. So it's just the Brazen Borrower they've got lurking around. They have a second Lightning Bolt here. They do have a second Lightning Bolt to kill our Ratchet. Okay. They put a card on top of their library. That's a little bit worrying. We do get to kill the Murktide, and we take 6 here, and then we re-up with the Meekstone here. But they do have a 3-1 hanging around. Oh my god. Oh my god. So we play out this Meekstone first. Then we play out the Racer. So I think we'll use this mana for it. White. White. Rescue Racer, here I come. We know they kept the card on top of their library. If it's a Murktide, we don't care. They can play an Uro this turn though. If it's a green source. So I think we're supposed to do this now. Sure. So they can't put the Uro in and gain 3 life, which might be enough to stem the tide. Okay, it was a Brainstorm on top. They can't fetch because they're on 1 life. Also, their Dragon's Raid channel is still tapped because when they untapped, it was a 3-power guy when they go to the draw step. Oh my god, have we got him? Alright. So we got the 3-2, which, I'll be honest, I'm shocked by. I thought we were going to get absolutely ruined in this league, to be honest. And we didn't, which is pretty good. We did have a bad time to begin with. Let's have a little chat about the deck. So, I have some thoughts about this deck. Now, there's some obvious cards which I don't like in the deck. Old Man of the Sea and Gideon feel weird, right? I don't think that's what we want to be doing in this deck. I'm also, the Spell Quellers and stuff, and the Dovin's Vetoes, I'm not convinced these are the sort of interaction we want to have. I would rather just have some more Thoughtseize, I suspect. Our deck was very weak to the control deck. They could just kill our things, and the way we're trying to grind value isn't the most efficient, let's be honest. We do have Urza Saga to try and beat control matchups, but if they can deal with our Urza Saga, we don't really have a lot else that does anything in that matchup. Like, we have all this anti-creature stuff in the Authority of the Consuls and the Meekstone, so that's pretty terrible in those control matchups. And if our opponent has a good sort of Delver hand, then they can definitely trounce us, as we saw, because their cards are all individually powerful. We don't have what you would describe as individually powerful cards. We have cards that, in combination, do good stuff. So like the enchantment plus the Meekstone gives us a way of locking out creatures. And then the Ratchet plus the Execution's Capture gives us another way of locking out creatures. So it's like 2 things together. We can piece it together. We can kind of get there. Or the Bauble can just give us like a Howling Mine effect or whatever. Now, what I am thinking with this deck is if we're running blue, Emry kind of does the same thing that Ratchet does, right? But it's just cheaper and you don't have to kind of keep flipping through hoops, because we had lots of times where our Ratchet just didn't do anything. It was just stuck on 1 form. We couldn't transform it because we didn't have the requisite things to do it. Now that probably means we should be running more of the things that transform it, so like more Bauble type effects or petals or whatever. But also that if you want that sort of effect, you should probably just be playing more. You should just play an Emry deck, I think, if you're playing blue. However, if you are playing a non-blue deck with Ratchet, I think that's where maybe it can shine a little bit. So let's just minimize this a little bit. So if we strip out some of these blue cards, now Baleful Strix is clearly a very good card in this particular deck. And it would be the only thing here that I think I would miss would be the Baleful Strix. Now, we definitely had things where these other cards came in handy, but if we just had like a bunch of Thoughtseizes or something, because we've got life gain built into our deck, that's kind of like a core element of what we're trying to do. So we definitely have the life to pay for Thoughtseize. So we could go more heavy into black-white, which then gives us a slightly better mana base as well. And the Urza Saga isn't going to cause us as much trouble because we're not going to have to try and find three colours as well as our Urza Saga colourless slot. So that's kind of where I would like to explore this if I were to play this again. Quite what we play in these slots, I also don't think we should be running Gideon personally. So removal is quite nice, because if you just have removal spells alongside your Ratchet, you can just keep hitting with your Ratchet, right? That seems quite an effective way of doing things. Also, I've just forgotten the name of it. The little insect, the 1 mana 1/1 where you pay green and sack it to exile a thing. That's something I'd quite like to have access to. That would be Haywire Might. That's what it's called. Haywire Might would be a really good addition if you were to go a different route. And you don't even need to be running green mana necessarily if we're running more of the petals and opal type effects. We can kind of just rely on that. And that feels like in the matchups where Executioner's Capture doesn't do anything, the Might is probably going to do loads of things. And it's a nice thing that you can find off of Urza Saga that some painter decks are already running. Like the blue painter deck usually runs the Haywire Might, and 8cast quite often runs it as well. Even without specific mana sources to cast its ability, it's not that difficult to get petals and opals going. There might be something that can give us some treasure somewhere along the lines. Obviously, treasure doesn't impact our Ratchet because it has to be a non-token. But if we had something that sacked to make a treasure or something, we could, like an artifact. There is an artifact that is a treasure, actually, isn't there? That makes a 1/1. I don't think that's where we want to be. But we do need more things to sacrifice that are good. And we need more ways of interacting with our opponent instead of just trying to assemble a Loch. I think having a little bit of removal and some hand disruption in terms of the Thoughtseize, because we have middle to large creatures sort of covered, but not really, because the large creatures, like the really large creatures, kind of end the game when they turn sideways once. Like if you're talking about like Sneak and Show type creatures. So we don't really have them covered necessarily with our Meekstone. But if we have the Authority of the Consuls, that can actually cover that. And Authority of the Consuls is pretty good against Sneak Attack as a card. Although if they put the Grizzlebrand in and draw a million cards, it's not really going to stop them. But if you combine the Authority and the Meekstone against some of the big creatures, that's going to be okay, actually. If you're against medium-sized creatures, you can take a hit and then lock them down with the Meekstones. That's going to be more effective there. Little creatures that go wide, we're not really cut out to beat those. That's why we have one Jitte, but how are we finding it? We could play some Stoneforge Mystics, have a little Stoneforge Mystic package alongside our Ratchet. That might be quite interesting. You could even put Citizen's Crowbar in there, I think it's called. Not necessarily sure you should, but it's a thing you could do, which would be another way of getting some things going. I know that somebody in the Painter Discord, in the Mono White Painter sub-channel, they have been playing Ratchet in a Painter deck with a bit of success, and they quite enjoy it. And now that it's fixed online and works properly, I'll be interested to see how their lists pan out. But I kind of feel like we're running blue for Baleful Strix and just playing these other things because we can. Now, that would mean we lose these counter spells. But we can do that. We can do things with discard instead, right? That's what we're aiming to do. And Necrogen Spellbomb is a thing that can discard in people's draw step, right? So if we can set up a Ratchet loop with Necrogen Spellbomb, we can effectively just lock our opponents out of the game that way. So that's something I'd be interested in, having a bit more discard. So Necrogen Spellbomb isn't that good unless your opponent is down to like one card. And then it becomes really good because you can take that last card and then Ratchet and just lock them out of the game. So I would like to see a little bit more discard instead of blue spells to try and push through. I don't think this is a deck that wants Staff of the Storyteller. Even that card is very good. We could play the spell bombs that make guys, just to give us more of a threat on the board. Now, I don't think those ones are particularly good, but if you're running it with Staff of the Storyteller, then they're cantripping and making guys, and maybe that's good enough. I do think that the Staff of the Storyteller is very strong, although if we're running a Stoneforge package, that's also very good with Staff of the Storyteller. But I would like to have a think about what this deck would look like if it was just black-white. I'm surprised not to see a Dispeller's Capsule in here. I don't think it's very good, but maybe it's good enough. Although if you're playing Haywire Might, that's just better. So maybe max out on some petals, because we are trying to cast a guy that's sometimes 3 mana. So maybe that's better. Protecting our guy also feels like something we need to do, but quite how we go about doing that, I'm not convinced. Maybe Lightning Greaves or something, so we can stick it on the Ratchet, swing with it the turn we have it, get something back, and immediately start going to Value Town. It feels like we need a little bit more high-end spells to go around it, you know, the meat and potatoes and the grease of the wheels to make everything flow. I don't think this selection of cards outside of the Baleful Strix is really doing what we want. So this whole chunk here, I think we could find better uses with. All right, it's quite late where I am right now, so I'm going to wrap up with that one. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope the donor of for this league is happy with how it turned out. I was certainly impressed we got a 3-2. When we got cooking, it felt pretty good. We got a little bit lucky, but you got to get lucky sometimes. If you can explain to me why Old Man of the Sea is in the deck, I'd like to know as well. But yeah, surprisingly fun, surprisingly successful. Obviously, when we were having a bad time, we were having a really bad time. But when we were having a good time, we were having quite a good time. So highs and lows with the deck. All right, if you're still here, like, comment, subscribe. These things cost you nothing. Let me know what you think of this deck and how you change it. That's something I'm really interested to hear. And if you would like to support me financially, you can do that on Patreon, which is in the link below, or you can sign up to a YouTube membership and you get some perks for that. I'm currently working on a primer for Green-Black Turbo Depths. It's going to be on my Patreon, so I'll let you know when that's out. And there's also a link to my Discord in the description below, which is a free Discord. You can just come in and hang out, talk about the nonsense I play or what you'd like to see. And yeah, that's about it really. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.